What's up, guys? This is Jake from X Garage. Today we got to talk about Santa Muerte. So we're talking about these things to make sure that we are better equipped to share the gospel with people that have different worldviews than us. Remember to hit subscribe and hit that like button. So the first thing is that Santa Muerte, or Our Lady Death, originated from pre-Spanish colonization times. And actually, this is something that probably originated with the Aztecs. So this means that this has been going on for a long time, but also when the Spanish came and colonized, this practice was somewhat suppressed and pushed into the homes rather than in public. So since that time up until recent years, the practice of venerating or worshiping Santa Muerte has been somewhat kept to the homes. Now, this changed recently when a mother who lost her son was decided kind of last minute to start venerating Santa Muerte in a way to petition her for revenge, which is something you wouldn't normally petition a regular saint for, right? Because revenge or vengeance is the Lord's and to take it is sinful. After this, the figure known as Santa Muerte became much more popularized in regular public culture. Number two is kind of an odd one. So even though the Catholic Church has completely condemned Santa Muerte and speaks of her as being dangerous, something I would actually agree on, many of the people that practice praying to or venerating Santa Muerte still call themselves Catholic, which is bizarre. Now, a lot of these people are leaving the Catholic Church probably because of the cognitive dissonance, but some of them live with that cognitive dissonance, which is quite amazing that they are able to hold these two together. Because as we know, that people that are in the Catholic Church are essentially required to follow what the church says. What the Pope says is the final authority. So when the Catholic Church in its authority says, condemnation upon Santa Muerte, but the fact that they live with that cognitive dissonance is quite amazing. So in terms of our evangelism, one of the things we can do is point them back primarily to scripture, but we'll talk about that. So the third thing that we need to recognize about this figure is that one of the reasons people go to her is because she is seen as being non-judgmental, where if, say, you're a Catholic and you want to ask for something like revenge or vengeance or something that might be a little bit more seen as sinful or something like that, you wouldn't want to petition a saint for that because, of course, the saint isn't going to take your side. So what do? You go petition Santa Muerte, who's seen to be less judgmental. One of the things that might give a good picture to this is that when you are, say, a cop and you're asking for protection, many cops do in fact venerate Santa Muerte. They'll be venerating her for protection when they are going against the gangs. But those who are in the gangs as well may be venerating her also. So they petition to her even though she doesn't really take a side, which is interesting. And before I get to this last point, remember to subscribe and hit that bell notification so we can keep on diving into the world of worldviews together. Now, here's the thing, what do practitioners do? Now, because this movement is largely unorganized, there isn't a set structure of things that people have to do to be involved or not need to do. You'll hear people online talk about how to build up your own shrine to Santa Muerte, and it could be as anything from drawing a figure of a skull or setting up your own candle to her, or you can go to one of the public shrines as well. And remember, she's seen as a very powerful figure and a quick moving figure at that. But one of the things that you'll do when you're going to her shrine is bring her something of value to yourself. And often what this ends up being is things like tobacco, alcohol, and marijuana. Something I don't imagine that you'd want to bring to the table if you are a practicing Catholic to a saint. I'm assuming anyway. I'm not a Catholic, not a Roman Catholic. So the big question is, how should Christians respond to this kind of thinking? So if you have any ideas of how we should respond or things that we missed, leave them in the comments below so we can talk about them later. And I think it's good for us as Christians to remember that since Christ has defeated death, like 1 Corinthians 15:25-26 says, for he must reign until he put all his enemies under his feet, and the last enemy to be destroyed is death. And I think that includes Santa Muerte, who is the figure of death. But really, how should Christians respond, and how can we talk with somebody who is a part of a cult like this? So I think one, if they're a Roman Catholic, we need to keep on pointing them to Christ and to Scripture either way, and make sure that they're receiving truth from God himself and not over some folk superstition. And then if they are on the more pagan side, because some of the practitioners don't see themselves as Catholic and more of a neo-pagan type of person, one of the things that we can always remind them of is the incompatibility of their worldview with reality. And that goes well either way. And keep on pointing them back to Scripture and say that Christ is the foundation for knowledge. Proverbs 1 talks about the fear of the Lord being the foundation for knowledge. And when we're talking to groups that are okay with either cognitive dissonance, we need to remind them that this kind of cognitive dissonance is not something that you would find in a worldview that is ultimately true. For the one who is not a Catholic and maybe more of a neo-pagan or any other mixed mash of things in between, we need to remind them that Christ is the only way to salvation. Their beliefs tend to be a little bit more squishy and mishmashy, so you have to discover often what that individual person believes before you can address those individual concerns, but always bring them back to the gospel. And remember, that is Christ who saves through faith alone. And remember, guys, hit that subscribe button and bell notification, and we'll see you around again on X Garage.